Hello and welcome to this week's Preps Preview alongside Justin Conn. I'm Leroy Bridges. Yes, we are wearing nearly identical shirts. It's a random circumstance. I didn't call him and tell him to wear red today.
It's a little different shade, maybe. I hope.
I can't believe this happened. But anyway, we're going to get started right on our top 5 of the week. Just kind of looking at mine. I'm changing mine up a little bit. I know Justin's a man that likes to stay set in his ways, but I've got some changes on mine. Number 5, it's kind of the rotating door of my top 5. KZ Westfield making an appearance. They're number, I think, 3 in the state right now in the new AP poll.
Class 2A, right.
So I got the Warriors there. I don't know if they're going to be moving much, so that number 5 spot might be locked down. Number 4, St. Teresa. We might learn a little bit more about the Bulldogs, as we'll talk about here coming up. Big game this week. Mount Zion stays steady at 3. Top 2, this is where I got some movement. I'm dropping Tuscola to number 2 and putting Maroa number 1. Maybe getting ahead of myself a little bit because they have St. T on Friday, but Maroa's been flawless. Tuscola had a little hiccup against Sullivan Oakall Valley on the road, and their defense hasn't given up 28 points in a long time, and that's what they did last Friday.
You know, it just doesn't seem like you have respect for the top 5, Leroy.
I'm sorry.
You know, Tuscola, though, it was a little bit shocking to see them give up 28 points, and you know, they just haven't done that. They've been so rock solid defensively that you just haven't seen that happen. And it was a little bit, it took you back a little bit to see that, especially 14 in the first quarter.
Exactly.
And obviously improving Sullivan team. I think that, you know, we've talked a little bit about this, but, and we'll talk a little bit more about it later in the podcast, but yeah, obviously they're a much improved team. Yeah, mine stays the same. All my teams won in my top 5, and I'm gonna, you know, I guess I'm kind of old school.
Pay respect to
it.
Okay.
Number 5, Pana, 3-0. Their schedule gets a lot tougher now, starting this week with Carlinville. So, you know, they're gonna have to fight to keep that number 5 spot. Number 4, Mount Zion had a nice win against Charleston this week, and another great game from Jacob Smith, over 200 yards. Number 3, I'm leaving St. Teresa at number 3. Ryan Smith had a huge game for them against Meridian. Number 2, Maroa. Yeah, I haven't seen much in the way of imperfections there at this point.
Yeah.
But they've been number 2, so I'm keeping them at number 2. And Tuscola, number 1. I mean, maybe it's a little bit of hangover from the St. Teresa win. They didn't have that last year, but maybe that happened this year. And offensively, they answered, you know, what happened in the first quarter defensively. So obviously, you know, they still won by a pretty large margin there. So number one team in Class 1A, and, you know, very deservedly so.
Yeah, we've alluded to the big week in the Oakall, talked about a couple teams, 2 huge games on the slate, and 2 games with playoff implications, all in the Oakall Valley Conference. Just looking at it on paper, Monticello travels to Argenta. That's a game. Both teams are 1-2, fighting for playoff hopes there eventually. This is a must-win for both those games. And then Sullivan Oakall Valley goes to Meridian. That's another game where you're looking at Sullivan. They have to win this game to have any hopes at playoffs, and it's a game that they should win at this point, kind of seeing what they're going to do. And this would give them their second win and give them some momentum at 2-2.
Right, and you look at Argenta, who lost to Clinton last week. I think this is the game we pointed to at the start of the season and said, you know, if they can win that one, they're a playoff team. Now, not only do they have to win that one, they have to beat Tuscola, Maroa, Unity, somebody like that.
Exactly,
one of those teams. So they're in a really tough mind. They have to win that one.
Yeah.
You know, and Monticello obviously needs to win as well. In fact, Sullivan, let's say they beat Meridian, which seems like something they are capable of doing. There aren't really any other games on their schedule where you can say, okay, that's a gimme. They'd have Clinton still. I think that's their final game of the season. They have Shelbyville, which won't be an easy one either. And they also have Monticello, which you can kind of look at it, maybe if they can get that Monticello win here in a couple of weeks. I believe that's in 2 weeks from now. That they can, you know, they might be a playoff team, which I don't know that anybody had them as a playoff team to start this season. So
Charlie Brown and Sullivan Oakall Valley, that's about it.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, obviously those are some good games that are going to get a little overshadowed by the 2 big boys. Obviously, St. Teresa, Maroa Forsyth has been the best game kind of going here for last 5 or 6 years. You know, great rivalry. And this is it for 2 years. St. Teresa cycles off and Murrow cycle off each other's schedule after this year in the black and blue divisions. So get out there and enjoy this one because this is it for a couple of years.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think you're letting me have this one this week. I think it's finally getting a taste of the Murrow-St. T rivalry, so I'm going to be covering that game. I'm looking forward to it because I know you covered both matchups, or the one matchup last year.
I covered it last year, yes.
And I think you got both A&M Murrow matchups too, so those were two big games too. But I'm excited to go out there and see that game. And then obviously the other monster matchup is Tolono at Tuscola. Tuscola gets another big-time game at home where they've been unbeatable the last couple seasons. And it'll be an interesting test because Tolono doesn't look like they've really had a step down from last year at all.
Not at all. And I think that's, we kind of at the start of the year thought maybe the loss for Tuscola could be at Maroa later in the season. I do think this might be their toughest game. After seeing Tolono against A&M the first game, they are maybe a little bit a step above, kind of that 1A level,
Sure.
And I don't know if Tuscola isn't a step above the 1A level too, but this is going to be a really tough matchup for them. I think if they come out and aren't ready right away like they were against Sullivan, they're going to find themselves in a hole because Tuscola or Tolono was really good. A couple other notes about the St. Teresa Maroa game. They, Maroa really wants this one because St. T's won 2 in a row against them, and they're not going to want to go out with 3 straight, to end this rivalry for going out of it. So, Maroa kind of made their name by beating St. Teresa in the playoffs a couple years back after they got beat by them pretty bad in the regular season, and they don't want to go out with 3 straight losses to them.
That would be a pretty bitter end to this rivalry, which I'm saying, come on, get some Big Ten rules in here. Let's protect this rivalry. I mean, it can get done. It would take some work, but take a couple teams and protect these matchups every year. I want to see this game every year.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I would love to see this every year. I know that OCAL has its rules, and they're not going to break them because they like the way this works. They like that everybody has their games and everybody is assured of games, and the other teams want St. T and Murrow on their schedule too.
Screw them. This is a big time game. This area needs that game. I'm saying rules are made to be broken sometimes. Let's finagle it. Let's get something in the works to make that happen. I think everybody would win.
Hey, and who wouldn't want to see Tuscola and Tolono every year too? So
I mean, come on.
There's another one. Obviously, it's a great Friday of football. Make sure you check out hrpreps.com for the massive amounts of coverage we're going to give this weekend.